Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing. Work on scaling my crafting a little bit and let's talk about this. Now before some of you guys chime in and say, Jason, you just did this video a couple of weeks ago. Well no, we're going to talk about the video I did a couple of weeks ago. Because I made a video where Mack Truck uttered the line, real men hit weights, not women. And that line earned my respect. All right, there's a mutual respect between he and I as a result of that, because I agree with that sentiment. And I want to jump back into what we really meant by that. But you know, there were a lot of people when I said that and when he said that who jumped into comments and everywhere, and they said stuff like, "Well, I'm going to defend myself. If some crazy woman comes at me with a knife, or whatever their situation was, I'm going to defend myself." We're not talking about that. That's not what we're talking about. I'm of the opinion that any self-defense scenario justifies the use of deadly force. That's my opinion, my moral opinion. Someone has become physically dangerous to you with the potential to cause serious bodily harm. I have no problem with someone using deadly force at all. Zero. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a knife-wielding woman coming at you, cutting at you. That's not what we're talking about. Nothing to do with it. That's a self-defense scenario. And that's not the problem we have in this community. You know, this is a topic that's come up in the community because we have so many guys out there in this community with their own set of insecurities. We had this whole situation arise over Rich Piana. You know, after he passed, all this stuff come out about Rich Piana being physically abusive to his wives, ex-wives, more than one. All right, there was a lot of stuff that came out. A lot of people aren't aware of all of that, and that's a whole different story. But that sparked the conversation in this community. Because we saw a lot of people jump up and say, well, it was justified one of his wives did this or that. Guys, when you are in a romantic relationship with someone, physical violence against someone that you claim to love, right, that you claim to love and care about is never justified. And I don't mean that just from the guy. You know what? If your girl punches you or grabs a stick or something and hits you, that's inappropriate. That's not justified. Right? You don't need to be in a relationship with a person who is physically violent with you. All right? This is a point where that's a dysfunctional relationship. And yes, I have been in a relationship where I had a girl who would become physically aggressive with me when she would drink and I had to restrain her. Obviously, that's an ex of many, many years ago. Many years ago. And she was an alcoholic. But you know what? Obviously, that relationship didn't last. The difference in that case, though, of what we are talking about, of the physical capacity of one person versus the other. All right, I could bench press 400 pounds at the time. I had no trouble restraining her. I did not have to hit her. I was able to restrain her and keep her from hurting me and from hurting herself. And she knows who she is. She occasionally apparently watches some of my videos every now and then. I'm not going to get into who that was. We don't need to go there. But yeah, she would become extremely violent when she drank. And obviously I was able to restrain her to the point where no one ever got hurt. But, you know, that couldn't last. Because that's not a healthy relationship. That's not a person who should be in a relationship at that point. And that's the reality of it. Just because we feel that we need a relationship, maybe people out there, we're not in a situation to where we need to be in a relationship. And I'm going to be honest, if where you're at in your life, you feel the need to be violent with people that you're involved with, you're definitely not at a point in your life journey where you need to be involved with somebody. You just don't. You don't. Or that's the point where you need to get help for that. But the point that I was making is the fact that you get so many guys with their own insecurities is for them, it is a form of control over a partner. And it comes down to the fact that they don't know how to have a partner who behaves. And in some cases, if a guy is abusive with his girl, sometimes it's her fault because she's not a good woman and he doesn't know how to handle it, in which case he needs to walk away from that relationship. All right, and that's kind of the point. But he needs to also assess, is he to blame? Right? Is the way that she acts because he is inappropriate in the relationship too? Maybe he's not acting like a man and she doesn't respect him like a man. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But part of it could be that she's just not in a situation where she needs to be with someone. Maybe she can't control herself. Maybe she is a cheater. Maybe she flirts with other dudes to make him angry. Maybe she does whatever. If that's the case, all right, that's an example of a woman who doesn't need to be in a romantic relationship with someone. If that's the way that she's going to behave, that's just reality. And women who disagree get over it. All right, if you're going to behave that way, you know full well flirting with other men when you're in a relationship is going to cause a conflict. And if you can't stop yourself from doing that in a way that other men are all going to perceive it that way, it might be time for you to reassess, are you really ready to be in a relationship? But what I would say to the guys is that if you can't get that under control, that doesn't mean you need to go off and hit her. All right, doesn't mean you need to put your hands on her. It might be time, if you can't resolve that, to exit stage left. I'll tell you, that's always a better option. It's always a better option to leave a relationship than to become physically violent with someone. It is. That's reality. But what it comes down to is that oftentimes you have men who feel the need to do this as a form of control, and it's because their woman does not respect them as a man. Woman doesn't respect them as a man, and maybe it's because they are not a man. Maybe they're a man-child. Maybe they're a little boy who has never grown up, who does not take care of their business as a man. And therefore, he doesn't get treated like a man. He doesn't get respected like a man. He might have an otherwise good woman who doesn't respect him. Maybe he doesn't take care of his business. Maybe he's not paying all his bills. Maybe he's not taking care of stuff. Maybe he's not taking care of stuff. He's not taking care of responsibilities. Not making money. Not trying to make money. Maybe he sits around playing Xbox all day instead of taking care of business. All right, if that's you, you sit around smoking weed and playing Xbox all day, don't expect your woman to respect you like a man. Because you're not. If you're doing that instead of taking care of business, you're not a man. You really have no business expecting to be treated like one. You see a lot of that. These guys do that, and they think then it's appropriate to hit their girl because they're acting like a child. They think like a child, and then their woman doesn't treat them like a man. Well, maybe you need to grow up and behave like a man if you want to be treated like one. If you want your woman to respect you, you're going to have to act like a man and take care of your shit. But that's the thing. You get these guys, and you see a lot of it in the comments. All these young kids, they get into lifting weights because they're insecure, and now they start penning a little bit of test and everything else, and they think, oh, well, now I'm stronger. It's okay for me to slap a girl around to keep her in line. Well, that's what my dad did to my mom, so it's okay. It's not appropriate. That is a mark of a weak man who does not know how to inspire respect in his woman. She doesn't respect you. And so then they try to earn that respect by being physically dominant, instead of earning that respect by behaving like a man and taking care of stuff. There's a big difference. Big difference. And I would say to women who are watching this too, let's go back and look at that the other direction. If you see your man trying to behave like a man and he's not quite there, you need to inspire and motivate him to be a man instead of tearing him down every time he tries. So that does work both ways. That works both ways. And I'm not saying if you're a woman, I'm not saying that you deserve to be hit, because you don't. I'm going to say if the guy hits you, you need to leave. You need to leave that relationship. There are resources out there. You need to walk away. Because once he starts doing it, he's not going to stop. Not going to stop. But at the end of the day, in my experience, it's 9 times out of 10, unless it's just a man who's just prone to violence or an alcoholic, it's a man who doesn't take care of his business, isn't behaving like a man. He gets disrespected by his woman because he's not being a man. He's still being a child. And the same thing, getting in fist fights is what children do. All right, grown, mature men don't stand around getting in fist fights. People need to understand there's maybe in some cultures, so some people out there listening, maybe you're in the UK and you're thinking, I don't understand. Well, I'm talking to my majority audience. You're not in the majority of my audience. In the culture where I live, which is the majority of my audience, at least 60 to 70%, grown men don't undertake violence lightly. It's not done in fun. It's not done for pecking order anymore. That's kid stuff. That's high school stuff. Mature men engage in violence when it's serious, when it's life and death. In other words, grown, mature men, if you're going to put your hands on another man, expect that somebody might die or go to the hospital over it. That's going to be a reasonable expectation. And if you're not ready for it to go to that level, it's not worth going to that level, you probably shouldn't do it. And I'm not anti-violence. I just think violence needs to be done when it is at an appropriate time. And what it ultimately comes back to with these relationships, violence has no place against people that you claim that you love. If you love somebody, you're not going to hit them in anger. You're not going to hit them for control. And I understand we're not talking about disciplining children. That's a totally different topic. We're talking about when you are dealing with an adult. Now, some people say, well, my girl doesn't behave like an adult. She behaves like a child. Well, if you're a grown man and you are dating or you're in a relationship with a woman who is not behaving like a woman and she's behaving like a little child, you need to get rid of her and go find a woman then. That doesn't justify you putting your hands on her. So that's the whole point of this, is that I like that you got guys like Max Stroke, now that we've had all this stuff come out in the community, of explaining, you know, real men hit weights, not women. Real men are about empowering themselves, getting stronger physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Right? That's what a real man does. And a real man uplifts and empowers those around him. Right? That's what part of being a man is. Part of being a man is being a leader. A role of leadership, whether it's to younger men or boys who need leadership, whether it's to your woman, to your family. A man assumes a role of leadership, and you empower those around you. You don't beat them down. Because if you have to beat them down instead of raising them up, that's a sign of weakness. That means that you're still weak because you're afraid of those around you being stronger. When you are truly strong, you're not afraid of others catching you and passing you. You go ahead and lift them up to go along with you. It's about empowerment. You shouldn't need to beat down, or in any way, whether it's physically, emotionally, verbally, you shouldn't need to beat down those that you are supposed to be leading and inspiring. You need to lift them up. You need to empower them as well. All right, that's what a leader is. And a man, a real man, is a leader. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.